Hi, my name's Nick. Welcome to Apple Sheets Anonymous. I have a problem.
But Nick, you had some news I didn't know about. What were you teasing me with?
So, we're talking a lot about minis today. We talked about the iPad mini,
Oh my goodness, here he goes.
the HomePod mini.
He's doing
We've
the
even
Tim
talked
Cook
a
thing.
little bit about the iPhone 12 mini. What I have to share with you today,
Ooh!
the Mac Mini!
Oh my god, I forgot, Nick.
He did it! Oh, thank God. One of us got it. It's about time.
It did take a while, and
That's great.
okay. Hi, my name's Nick. Welcome to Apple Sheets Anonymous. I have a problem because all day
Hi,
Saturday
Nick.
I talked about how I was not going to be getting any other Mac until the 16-inch MacBook Pro Unicorn came. And then Sunday came along, literally less than 24 hours after I said those words, and I picked this little thing up. So,
Yay! Why are you sad? Don't be sad.
because it feels like an unnecessary purchase. I already have a 2010 Mac Mini, same body, same form factor, more storage. I already have a MacBook Pro. Now I have 3 Macs, and it's kind of like, but I will say,
I'm a
I have a Mac Mini
minimalist.
but
My
this
Mac
Mac,
Mini's in the corner doing nothing.
this Mac is the best Mac I've ever used.
I would
Nice.
hope so.
Which spec did you get? Is it the base model?
This is the absolute base model. It was the only one available for same-day pickup.
Oh,
The
same
reason
day.
why
Nice.
Yeah, the reason why I picked it up is because I was trying to get ready for all of our podcast intros and outros and New Year's launches and all that fun stuff. And all of those motion projects, I've shared this last week, but the motion projects took hours, like days, to render on the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I
The
have.
little one.
I
Yeah.
found a 15-inch MacBook Pro that a family member had, and it was still taking on the order of a day to render one of these projects. And in the amount of time that it took to render one of those projects, I had found things that I wanted to change with the project, and I just have to start over again. And so
yeah.
that very long lag time between being able to see the final high-quality product and being able to edit it was almost unacceptable. So, in a little bit of desperation on Sunday, I went and picked this up. It doesn't render things instantly, but
Dang
what
it.
took
Come on,
what,
Apple.
I know, right? Doesn't do
Instant.
1 for 1 second. But what took the MacBook Pro 16 hours to render 28 or 29% of one of these 30-second videos took the Mac Mini 2 hours to do the whole thing. So
Really?
almost
Wow.
16 times improvement, like insane comparison. And another fun comparison.
That's awesome.
Is when actually editing the projects, like not exporting or transcoding it, but when you're moving the objects around and lights and dealing with the format of it all. The MacBook Pro would render at about 0 frames a second, and you think that's a joke, but no, it would render about every 2 seconds. It would render 1 frame, so the little FPS counter would say 0 frames a second because it doesn't know how to do
Oh, wow.
decimals on the frames. And
Jeez.
the Mac Mini does it at almost 60 frames a second, between 50 and 60
60?
frames a second. Yes.
Whoa.
In live time. So
I
it's
thought it
very
was going to be
beautiful.
like 20 or 30.
No, and if you have more
That's
complicated
impressive.
motions, it does. I've seen it drop down as low as like 16 frames, but
Okay.
it's still impressive. I never
Yeah.
saw anything like that out of the MacBook, any of the MacBook Pros. So that, and then also just getting to use Big Sur for the first time because I still don't have it on my old Mac because I've been waiting. I have LumaFusion installed. Actually, I edited last week's podcast in LumaFusion on the Mac Mini. That was kind of fun.
Oh, wait.
touch-
Okay. LumaFusion on the Mac Mini you edited with.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, so
I didn't know
last
that
week's
was a
edited
thing.
on a Mac in LumaFusion.
Wow.
Yeah, it didn't feel natural because like you're supposed.
Yeah.
It felt like I was just using the mouse pad on the iPad Pro keyboard,
Right.
And so it didn't
Yeah.
quite feel right. So I'm gonna try Final Cut again this week.
Okay.
See how that goes. But
Congratulations.
yeah, so I now
That's
have a
wonderful.
Mac and streaming. I did a couple streaming tests a couple days ago. my Mac Mini can do 1080 at 60 streams, and my internet supports it.
Nice.
So I am
Good.
like,
Wonderful.
I'm so happy.
That's
I had a pretty
awesome.
decent bit rate.
I'm so glad you got that one. And I'm glad
you.
you got the base one, because that's the one I would have recommended you get too.
It's the only one that's worth anything. The storage options are overpriced in my opinion, and most people, even people doing video work like me, can get by with 256. You just keep your internal hard drive pretty clean, and any external projects go onto an external drive that you want to keep around. So.
Right.
Nah.
Well, if it's stationary.
Randy doesn't believe so. All right, Mr. 30 gigabyte logic file, dude.
Hey, man, I got work to do.
So that's the news.
That's great. I'm so happy. I'm so glad you got one. That's cool. I think I'm curious to see how it ages, and also how that's awesome to hear how the M1 chip is handling motion and that type of thing. That's really, really cool. Man,
you
I'm
keeping
tempted
it,
now.
Nick?
I shouldn't.
Yes, probably.
Oh.
I think
don't-
you should.
I don't really want to, because I still do want the unicorn MacBook Pro, 16-inch MacBook Pro. Like, I still want that. But
I know.
I think now, if I keep it, which it's only $700, right? Like, it's the cheapest Mac you could buy. Like, any new Mac, it's the
You could sell your
cheapest
old
Mac.
Macs.
I could sell my old Mac for more than I bought that for, if I played
There you
off
go.
right and sign
Yeah.
the box. But
701.
701, yeah. And actually, I got this open box, and so it was a little bit cheaper at Best Buy, and
Oh.
basically $700 out of the door. I was pretty happy with that.
Wow.
But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so it's a pretty cheap Mac. But I think really what this has done, this purchase has made it so that I am not desperately waiting for a new 16-inch Mac. I
Right.
am now very happy to wait for the Unicorn MacBook Pro, the one with the mini LED OLED display, the one with the thinnest bezels. And that might be the next one with the M1X, but it could also be 2 or 3 years from now. And I think at this point, at least, it makes sense to keep it, and it's very powerful. I have noticed
That's
the
the
Bluetooth
thing.
issue, which is really annoying.
Oh, really? That's too bad.
Yeah.
You haven't noticed the what?
I think that there's a
Drew.
Bluetooth problem going around with
Oh,
the
yeah,
Mac
yeah, yeah.
Minis, I
yeah,
think.
Yeah, the Bluetooth. Yeah. I'm sorry. That sucks.
The Unicorn MacBook Pro, though, you're right, is very likely further away than we expect. Normally, when there's those types of rumors and reports, I still think there's a decent chance we get a 16-inch MacBook Pro that looks identical with Apple Silicon this year, and we don't get the mini LED 16-inch Pro until next year. I'm not
Yep.
saying it's a guarantee, but it's a total possibility, because we were in a very similar situation a year ago when people were saying there would be a mini LED iPad Pro by the end of 2020, and here we are, and it's like, actually March. So it could be a similar thing with the MacBook Pro, and you're going full time now, so you need something now, and that's the most, literally the cheapest way to get Apple Silicon, and the M1 chip sounds like amazingly fast and everything. Plus, you can use it with your monitor and pre-existing hardware and that kind
And
of
it
stuff.
works
So
with
yeah,
dock.
it's
It's beautiful.
good. And you've got extra I/O on there compared to the MacBook Pro or MacBook Air. So yeah, that's
Which I still
no. I
have
think
yet to
that
use,
was
but
yeah, yeah. It's still, I think, the right call. You made the right choice, and I think personally you can do whatever you want, but I think you should keep it. I think just hold on to it. And 16-inch MacBook Pro most likely going to come out and disappoint people, and we'll be like, well, maybe next year. So
So
that would have been very annoying.
I took a look on Apple while you guys were going over all that stuff, and the delay is still the same as it was back in a month ago, back in December. If I was to order any of the M1s, I would get it somewhere between the 3rd and the 10th of February. All of them, any of them. For me to max out the 16 gigs of RAM and
I don't think you need it.
I absolutely do need it. I know why you don't need it, but I need RAM management for audio. That is a necessity, and it's the only way.
Well, knowing Randy's going to keep this Mac for probably 5+ years,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, go ahead.
RAM management is more important. I would honestly say I would get more RAM before I would get more storage, strictly because it will prevent Logic from crashing or Final Cut from crashing, and I care more about something being stable. Then I can improvise with external SSDs, and that's fine. I won't like it, but I can make do with it. But I need to have maxed out RAM at all times because it's the only way everything can be sound. Especially if now I'm trying to do all this and live stream, I need to have it buttery smooth.
True.
And having maxed out RAM is my new, and I never thought it would be that important to me to get maxed out. It is now a necessity over 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes of SSD.
From my experience, Randy, which again isn't with intense Logic files, I do have Logic installed and I've messed around with some stuff in it. I know not to the extent you do, but the 8 gigabytes on this feels a lot more like 16 or 32 gigabytes on an Intel Mac. I've had Final Cut, Motion, Logic, and LumaFusion all open at once, all doing things. No discernible issues or slowdowns, besides CPU related things
because it's unified memory, like on the iPad.
Yeah, and that's something I want to experience. I want to experience the Apple Silicon chip for. I want to see how it goes, but just years and years of doing this, when you start going past 50 tracks on a single project, which I do very frequently, it all matters. It was actually the deciding factor of why I left my MacBook Pro. That was 2011 to get the iMac instead, because I needed the dedicated GPU and CPU and everything else that came with it. Thinking like, I'm going to take Final Cut more serious. And it ended up being the biggest lifesaver for Logic more than anything. And I don't know. And another thing is that the screen real estate, I don't want to let go of 27-inch usage because I can work with it
neither.
too. So getting the Mac Mini and then using one of my monitors to at least supplement that. I wouldn't, if I got a MacBook Pro 13-inch 4-port, it would be docked most of the time, with just the ability of me bringing it with me when those times need. In this scenario, 13-inch 4-port MacBook Pro, the desired iPad Mini that we all really want, and iPhone 12 Mini. I'm a happy camper. Let's go. That's my new setup for 2021 forward. But seeing how that might not be the case, I'm like, all right, well, the necessity first is I got to make sure I have things that work very well with Mac OS, and I can only go off of what we're working with today. Speculations of Logic and Final Cut going to iPad, until I see it, I don't believe it. I can only make my purchases and build my network that way based off of what we do know is accessible right now, and Mac OS has to be the priority on that. So with Mac OS, for me, equals most RAM, and I would very much appreciate getting terabytes worth of SSD, but that's
for sure.
That's the big purchase of this year for sure for me. Don't plan on getting a new iPhone. I don't care what the rumors are. I'm not interested. I would like to see a cool mini iPad Pro, not iPad Pro mini, but iPad mini. I would like to see all this stuff. The necessity is the Mac this year, and
same.
I have to sit and wait. I just have to sit and wait.
Yeah, I got to get something by the end of this year. I don't know if I want to swing a fourth year with the iMac Pro, or fifth, I guess. I guess it was 2017. Yeah, that's coming up. So it's interesting knowing we're going to keep it now, because I was all planning on letting it go, but my wife wants it. So
Drew, have you ever used a compressor with Final Cut?
Yeah, I've tried a few times.
And linking up the two different Macs so they can both render stuff. Does that work real well?
I haven't done the linking up two different Macs thing, okay. But the Mac Mini would be like putting a training wheel on a Cybertruck, so I don't I don't think it would make that big a difference to link the two. No, the Mac Mini I'm okay letting go of, or trading in or whatever.
If you get a 2020 Mac Mini and link that up. That might
be interesting.
That might add a powered trailer to the back of your Cybertruck.
Yeah.
That analogy.
No, it's a good theory. It's a good idea. iMac Pro's export time is really not the issue. It still was able to export faster than the M1, but I think it's the real-time playback that's just starting to slightly slow age. It's like when you're editing in real time and playing things and editing things, it'll start to slow up just a bit. It's not horrible. I'm probably being really nitpicky because the truth is I probably could use this another 2-3 years if I really needed to. It's just now that I know there's Apple Silicon out there and I want a new design and all that, that's mainly why I'm in the market. But the next Mac I plan on keeping for another big chunk of time. So that's why. Well, and what do you mean by maxed out RAM? Like, what if they let you max out the RAM to 256 gig? Are you going to get that, or is there a limit in which RAM is like? I mean, I need a lot of RAM, but not quarter terabyte RAM.
I would get no less than 32.
Okay, so 32. What if there's a 64 option? Would you opt for that?
Maybe. I don't.
Depends on the price.
It depends on the price. 32.
Let me see now how much it costs on an iMac. I'm curious.
See, the thing is, before with the iMac is I got the 16 gigs of RAM, and then I went out and bought more and put it in because it was expandable storage or not expandable RAM that way. So I did that, but I would.
64 is $1,000. 64
Yeah.
gigs of RAM is $1,000 on top of the base
On an iMac.
on an iMac. Yeah.
Yeah,
It could be different on Apple Silicon, but yeah.
Yeah, $1,000 to me, I
32 is 600 more.
right.
So there's a $400 difference.
Yeah, but I based it off of. Remember, I'm coming into this with a price range that I'm not going to go past this number.
Yeah.
And allocating RAM, it's I can't have both maxed out RAM in the scenario that you can go as high as you want and SSD. Hi Kika. I would favor SSD, but I would at least give myself 32 gigs of RAM and have that hold me over.
That's good.
Just because that's when the time comes where it's aging the way I would predict, like we were saying, I'm gonna hold on to for a very long time anyway. So 32 is real more to give me the room for growth on it. But I think 32 would.
I think that's a good base. 32 is solid. With unified Apple memory too, that's going to be like plenty for now and probably plenty for the next 3-4 years.
With the speed of the SSD, the internal SSD though, I have noticed some people on YouTube saying with the 8 gigabyte Mac, it'll virtualize maybe 12 gigs into the SSD and use that. But the SSD's fairly fast, obviously not as fast as RAM, but for most purposes, 2.5 gigabits a second of RAM to CPU, data flow. That's, pushing old RAM speeds. Which, and again, Randy, you have a whole separate different use case for me, but I'm very happy that I got the 8 gigabytes. I know for a fact I will not need more.
Yeah, I think it suits your
I've
needs
done the
best.
past week with it.
Our use cases are different, Nick.
I know you're the professional here, Randy. Oh my god!
Yeah,
But for what Nick is doing,
Nick was trying
the
to
RAM wouldn't make a big difference.
He was trying to take. I don't know. He's trying to push me out of my own job of music. All right, I'll do the music, Randy. Like, no, the heck you won't. You don't touch my music.
Whoa!
He's like, no, it's cool. I'm gonna work on this. Like, no, I don't come over there and tell you how to take your photos. You don't come over here and tell me how to make my music.
Well, I appreciate
does the
you
Mac
finally
Mini,
getting me an outro file, though, Randy. That was very polite of you, especially like
For
8
you to
hours
turn around
before
like,
the
hey,
show
no, what?
needed
I'm
to
gonna
go
put
live.
this in there, and he screws up the whole beat. I'm like, don't you dare!
Does the Mac Mini fans kick on a lot, or is it pretty silent?
They're always on. Like,
You can just hear a little.
No, I can feel it. I can feel the airflow.
Oh, okay.
They're always on. It's at idle right now, doing OBS. CPU's not even at the CPU's not even at 9% recording. The OBS at 60. This is at 60 frames. Hi, we're at 60 frames right now. But
I could
anyway,
have recorded at 60.
The fans are barely on, but when the fans do kick up, it's nowhere near as loud as my raspy old 2017
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say my Mac Mini from 2018. If I just turn it on or do anything, just opening OBS, you hear the, everything starts sounding really loud. So I was curious how the M1 sounded.
I hear the fan
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
pretty great.
Quiet.
Is there like a little?
That's why we got AirPods Pro. We can cancel it out with the ANC. Makes sense. Huh. Well, good for you, Nick. I'm excited for all the Macs we're going to see this year.